Hello and welcome back to City Skylines 2. You know what? Let's turn this early access city into a proper series and do it in the format I'm used to, with time lapses and cinematics. I don't want to spoil today's building that much, but at the same time the city was not much to look at before, since I just wanted to quickly show as many things as possible in that early access mini-series. That's why this intro will be this nice sunset rainy shot of the newly built downtown. Yeah, the game sure has much better ways to play with lighting. Anyways, let's go rework the city center, the waterfront. Let's fix the airport, connect it with a railway, prepare more railways to different districts, fix highways, and do something on the river island. And together with all of that, I will just sprinkle in some more thoughts about the game as I discovered more and more things. Let's go. This is just much more comfortable format for me because my brain seriously cannot do two things at once very well. That is building and commenting. So I'm probably going to make also much more sense when I'm just commenting on already finished and edited footage like this one. Now, since this is a vanilla game, I don't really need to speed up the time-lapse quotation marks. Just like I do in City Skylines 1. So some things in here are just going to be normal speed, as if I was building it live. Some things will be sped up 4 times, like in CS1 I do, because I'm going to be building some more mundane things, or maybe more complicated things that just need to be a little more edited so that it's just more complex or compact. Yeah, that's the word. So yeah, that's exactly the case right here. So I needed to first connect the airport with the railway because I need to establish that railway so that I can just build the rest of the downtown around it. But before I can do that, I first needed to replop the airport because there was a bug. I think I was showing that in the third video that prevented me from building the airport. One of those roads were on the ground. It was supposed to be elevated, but you have to rebuild the airport. I mean, you don't have to because when you will get the game, it's gonna be fine, but I had to. And then I needed to, well, obviously fix all those roads that went towards the airport. The reason why I have those 2 roundabouts there is that, of course, the area in front of the airport is going to expand. I'm thinking of building there some kind of low-density offices, maybe not high because, you know, it's the airport. There should not be any tall buildings in front of the runways. But I just wanted to prepare some sort of beefier infrastructure because also for geometry reasons. The airport is kind of clunky to connect, actually, because it has those roads coming from it at slightly weird angle. So you have to be a little creative. And I just thought that, you know, taking those roads straight from the airport and connecting them with roundabouts is kind of a good idea since I can just then do whatever kind of roads from the roundabout. So yeah, it's just some sort of geometric preparation. And later I'm just going to add some more density around the airport so that the infrastructure makes sense. Right, now the second thing I needed to do was to rework this SPUI interchange, the first one that I built in the city. What I'm doing right here is basically turning it so that it's going to be the elevated highway that actually won't have that single point, but it's going to be the ground main avenue that will have it. Mostly I'm doing that because I just wanted to turn those ramps 90 degrees because they were then coming very close to some of those surface intersections. So this is going to be so much more convenient, even though it would be technically better to have that single point on that top road since it does not really have that much capacity. Although it doesn't have it now because the straight direction, the one going to the left from this view, doesn't really get that much traffic right now because it doesn't go anywhere. But it will. It will actually be like a cross connection between the 2 highways, the 2 main big highways that will go parallel to the city. The city is kind of going to be like a noodle. It has to be because this map is a valley. So it's a big valley. So the city will be somewhat linear-ish in that regard. Now anyway, finally I was done with that interchange and now I could do the railway. So I decided to take it underground from the main train station in the city center because I just did not really want to disturb things that were already there. And well, there is that interchange. So yeah, I would have to probably build some completely different interchange to have space for ground railway. But doing just a short segment underground is going to be absolutely fine. is then going to resurface on the side of that interchange that I rebuilt, and then it's just going to continue mostly on the surface, even though it has to overcome some serious elevation when it's finally going to reach the airport. In here, I was just playing with some terrain work, and I was really trying to have it in the trench. I really like, by the way, if you cannot tell, that I really like the new trench segment type, because finally, even in the vanilla game, you can build these kinds of railway trenches or highway trenches, or basically like the highways retaining walls. Yeah, that's something that a lot of people are doing in City Skylines 1, but of course manually, when they are just building their own either sound barriers or those kinds of retaining walls, especially on some rougher terrain, right? But CS2 is going to do that automatically, but you cannot control when it's going to create that trench or embankment segment. It's going to be automatically created based on the difference from the terrain. And that can be a headache. It's actually a really, really painful process to first prepare the terrain and then just like exactly do the network so that it's going to trigger that either trench or embankment. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to some sort of network anarchy, I think it's these days in CS1, where, you know, I can just click on that segment and upgrade it either from ground to elevated, just like in CS1, or into those new segment types. Now, another thing that's actually not really done very well in CS2 is building parallel networks. Now, you can of course use the parallel mode, but that's only going to solve the problem when you want to build them anew. But what if you want to build a parallel network to an already existing network? Because the snapping is just not there. In CS1, there is that node snapping, or there is that perpendicular guideline going from the node, but in CS2, there's no such thing. So I discovered that you can actually use the parallel mode and then build it towards the existing segment. And the existing segment is simply not going to be built. That's one advantage of the technique, that you can basically just overlap segments and they are not going to be built where there is already something there. So that's exactly the same principle if, for example, the pre-built interchanges in City Skylines 2, where if you are going to like match them to an existing highway, then the overlapping highways will actually not be built. So you can only plop down the ramps and all the loops and everything around it. But for example, the straight segment is actually not going to be rebuilt. So that's a major difference from CS1 if you are into these pre-built interchanges, unlike me. But you don't need to destroy your existing straight highways or railways if you wanted to prepare maybe some custom railway interchanges in the future. Maybe they are not in the game, but I'm assuming that maybe you can do some kind of templates just like in CS1. We will see. So yeah, that's just a little note about that. So yeah, the parallel building, different tools need to be used, and overall it's maybe a little clunkier than it used to be. Now, I also rebuilt that train yard, rail yard. I put it on the edge of the map, really, because I just wanted to have it out of the way. It's on the main railway, and yeah, I just want to not waste the space on it in the industrial zone, because I do want to expand that industrial zone eventually. And also, right now, the railway cannot be connected to the city center to that passenger railway, so I need to prepare for that. Now, by the way, when I was building these railways, I was also doing on the live stream. I was testing some different railways around the map. Eventually, it didn't make the cut. I discovered that City Skylines 2 has much higher range when it comes to terrain elevation. You can build much higher, but you can also build much deeper. And this particular map is done so that there are insane elevation differences. And if you, for example, want to do realistic railways, so maintain some sort of reasonable grades around, 1%, 2%, then you really cannot do that on this particular map, because this map, even though from these kinds of views it looks like it's mostly flat, it's not. There are actually tens of meters of elevation differences. So for example, that edge of the map where I was actually building that train yard, it's maybe 100 meters below the actual city center. That's actually quite insane. So if I wanted to build some sort of a realistic railway from that new train yard, or from that existing outside connection, and if I wanted to maintain some of those grades, I would have to just do so many loops, so many twists and turns just to gather that elevation realistically. And this is unfortunately where Cities Skylines 2 right now is kind of lacking, of course, because it does not have any kind of network multi-tools and these kinds of tools that will allow you to do all the loops and all the curves and everything and maintain proper grades. And after you are done, you can just, select all those segments and align those grades properly. So that's something that I'm very much looking forward to that's going to be added into CS2. Hopefully, cross your fingers. But right now, doing some realistic railways, unfortunately, not all that easy, unless you really want to spend hours completely preparing the terrain. This right here that I'm going to be doing here, this is unfortunately also something that's kind of common with zoning in CS2. I don't exactly know right now because I don't use zoning in CS1, but correct me if I'm wrong, I think that in CS1 zoning is 4 cells deep from the road, right? In CS2 it's 6 cells deep, which means that there need to be many more variations of buildings regarding the footprint, right? And there are just not that many variations of buildings, unfortunately, available. So you can definitely see that very often. I'm going to be showing that in this video as well, because I just spent a long time doing this when I'm just going to zone some kind of a square or rectangle, and the zoning is automatically going to choose footprints of buildings. And it's actually going to leave so many gaps because, it's just not possible to do the Tetris with the available building shapes. So you can see me, for example, demolish that entire block when the construction sites pop up, just so I can trigger like reshuffling of those buildings. And eventually I am able to make it so that the largest possible footprints are selected and built, because those are also going to be the tallest buildings, of course, and I want that in the downtown. So that's just something that I need to manually check every single time. Right here in the central square, exactly the same thing. Well, actually, no, never mind. That was not zoned, the other areas. But I'm going to do that later. So in this particular case, these are these weird places where I needed to combine those different angles of the grids. And I decided that instead of just somehow making it together, somehow fit, I'm just going to cut those two angles and create like a park in the center of them. And just fill that with these, grid-shaped squares or rectangles. And they are not going to share any kind of geometry with the neighboring districts or neighboring blocks. And all around them is just going to be greenery and some kind of service buildings like this elementary school right here. I just wanted to position it so that then between these building blocks I can fit, for example, these parks or those basketball courts and different kinds of things, because I don't really want to have them anywhere else. Everywhere else around here is just going to be trees. I just wanted to have very green and very contrasty to the concrete and steel look of that built area, obviously with all those skyscrapers nearby. And finally I now rezoned this square, even though I still had to demolish some of those buildings there just so it would trigger it perfectly. The game, for example, has, I think it prefers to build, for example, those 6x6 buildings. So if you're going to do like a 12x12 square, as I did with those offices there on the right, then it triggered 4 buildings immediately. So that's obviously preferred. It's going to be the largest buildings there, and it's just going to nicely fit those areas. So not only, in my opinion, you need to pay attention in CS2 to just not break the zoning with your road geometry, I think you also need to pay attention to the final sizes of buildings. If you want to really have those largest buildings in the downtown, for example, in my opinion, it's probably going to be best to do the zoning so that you always have grids in the 6 cells or multiples of 6 cells. Yeah, so 6, 12, and so on. If you're going to do something smaller, then the game will have to somehow combine it from smaller buildings and sometimes it will just leave gaps instead, and it's just going to be kind of a headache. So yeah, that's unfortunately how it is. It's kind of especially weird for some zones. For example, for the row housing, it's not that big of a deal because the row houses are all 1 or 2 cells wide and 6 cells deep. So that you can see that here on the left, for example, this block for the row houses is, zoned perfectly, really, except for the angles on the side. Of course, it's still zoning. But for example, the high density commercial buildings, yeah, those are not really all that well, or not really all that good, because even if you zone it just like a strip of commercial areas, like I do on this main street, then some buildings will be built not utilizing the entire depth of that zoning. It's just going to leave some gaps, some tooth, and well, it's just not that great. So if you want to have some like lines of buildings perfectly made, then perhaps it might be worth it to not do full 6 deep zoning, but do it like 5 or 4, depending on the types of buildings you want to put there. So either the high density commercial or the mixed commercial and residential. That's, in my opinion, working a little bit better with the building sizes. Now, anyway, I want to rework this waterfront area. When I first started with this game, I was thinking I'm just going to do like a grassy waterfront, or maybe I'm going to put some kind of a key in there. Cities Skylines 2 does not have separate keys, but it does have those embankments and trenches, those segment types that I was talking about. But unfortunately, unlike keys in Cities Skylines 1, you cannot build it over water or on the shores so that it would trigger an actual key. So I have to, go through all this trouble of doing this terrain. Fortunately, CS2 does not have soil limits, so I can do this, fine. I can do this freely, but still, as you can see, if I want to have like a proper straight segment here for the waterfront, it's not an easy thing to set up. And unfortunately, this particular pedestrian path, this particular pedestrian promenade, it has some sort of a bug with zoning, so it does not appear directly next to it. So yeah, pretty much every step I take in this game right now is just not exactly doing what you would expect, but oh well, we can only hope that things are going to improve. So I'm mostly going to skip through this building process. Yep, as you could have seen, another, gaps in here. So I was just trying to demolish these, and then I just gave up and let it build however. Now, then I tried to do something with the taxes because I don't really have that many well-educated people in the city. So at first I just thought that I'm going to raise taxes for the lower education levels. So there's going to be some kind of incentive for them to jump up into those different taxation levels. I'm not really sure if that's how the game works, but unfortunately, at the end, it doesn't really matter because right now there is some sort of a bug where you are earning money regardless of your budget. So yeah, I don't really need to care, and I just lowered taxes for residential, and I'm still earning cash. So yeah, here we go. And of course, or also there is this thing in CS2 where you are given government subsidies if you are in the red numbers. I'm not really sure if you can turn that off, if that's some sort of like a easy mode or something. I don't know, but I haven't seen that anywhere. But yeah, that's how the game works right now. So really, it's impossible to lose money right now. Yeah, it is what it is. I don't know what else to say about that. But anyway, now I'm going to rework some of these other zones around here. And I decided also to reshuffle some of the service buildings around the city. So, for example, this big hospital, like I said, in those previous 3 videos for the gameplay showcase, I was really just trying to plop down as many service buildings as possible, just to show you how it might look. I was just placing them in weird places where it didn't really fit. So right now I'm just going to try to move these buildings around. So I, for example, moved the university. I just placed it on the edge of the city for now. I'm gonna get rid of that oil industry, yeah. I discovered that the oil industry actually takes forever to deplete that oil deposit. So I don't care. I don't want to wait that much time. So I'm just going to get rid of that oil industry in the future. Oh yeah, by the way, tornado. I'm going to get rid of that oil industry, and it's just going to be like an extension of the downtown. And I'm thinking I'm actually going to do this like an axis, like a geometric axis, starting from the plaza in front of the main train station. After the main train station, there is the high school right now, but it's kind of like turned, not exactly symmetrically. So maybe I'm gonna put that university there instead, and the high school somewhere else in the city. Oh yeah, because the university is a much bigger building. It's kind of iconic. It's just nice looking. So having that as some sort of geometric center in the downtown would make much more sense. Okay, but I'm going to do that later. I think that in the next episode, I would like to focus on industry. I would like to focus on just unlocking all those signature factories. Yeah, by the way, I want to do that. And then just maybe plop down some of those specialized industry buildings around the edges of the map more. So I can just have that in like a final position, because it's really going to take a very long time to deplete those resources. Unlike in City Skylines 1, I vaguely remember that in CS1, oh yeah, by the way, the oil industry is also not really making that much money. Yeah, so that's also a difference from CS1, because I remember that if you wanted to make crazy cash in vanilla CS1, you just had to find an oil deposit, just slap an industrial zone over there. It earned you like lots of cash at the start, and kind of soon-ish it depleted that oil deposit, so you could have just, got rid of it and expand the city in that direction or something with all your new cash. But not here. The deposits seem to last much, much longer. And yeah, unfortunately, this is just my adventures with the zoning. I was just really trying to get this specific footprint built, but I did not succeed. I don't remember if I eventually gave up and I just let it be with the gaps, or if I demolished the entire block and let it like reshuffle the footprints. But it's just strange. And there are some footprints that are just missing, that are not really all that crazy. I would understand if the zoning did not find a building for high density offices for like, I don't know, 1x6 cells. That's a kind of a weird shape, I admit. But it seems that the game doesn't even have shapes like 5x6 or 4x6, these kinds of shapes, right? That are probably going to be super common in zoning. But yeah, it doesn't, it seems. Anyway, this is now the trench railway that I'm going to build just like this. I'm not going to connect it on that second side, but it's going to be an extension from the main train station. I'm just doing that as a preparation so that I have already that railway prepared there, established, and I can just build the grids of the city around it, put some service buildings around it, and it's just going to be in its final position. And later it's just going to go into different parts of the city and do its thing. Right now, the railways are actually not really all that used in the city. Even the one coming from the airport, for some reason. People really prefer traveling by buses in the city and taxis, even though I do have the city policy for maximum fares for taxis. People still really like riding taxis. So I think I'm actually going to get rid of taxis completely. Or, no, wait, I did upgrade the taxi depot with the dispatch something. Upgrade, which means that they no longer need the taxi stops, but they can actually pick up passengers from all around the city. That's going to be so much better, because the taxi stands were just completely overcrowded in the city. There was just so many people waiting there compared to the bus stations. So I don't know what's up with that, but it was even causing some traffic problems, because I had like 15 taxis just waiting at that one lane trying to pick up passengers. So it's just kind of strange. But anyway, enough of that. Let's now focus on this island. On this particular map, if you just have those three standard tourist attraction buildings, obviously everyone is going to build that observation tower on this island. That's not exactly original idea, I'm going to assume, but it's just looking very nice. So let's do it like that, and let's turn that island into some sort of like a touristy area. I was a little tiny bit thinking of, for example, the Munich Olympic Village when I was trying to set this up. So the island is just going to have some sort of like a road entrance only to the side, and the rest is going to be for pedestrians only. It's going to have pedestrian paths, pedestrian bridges to the downtown, and across the river, in the future when we actually expand there with the city. And it's going to have some sports places that are available to be built right now. And overall, it's just going to be like a chill area. What's really nice is that it's actually going to provide a massive bonus to the outdoor activities or like well-being or whatever, even to the downtown and even to like very far away from the downtown. So the observation tower and some of those sports places that I will later add, those really do make a difference, even though they are like gameplay-wise somewhat disconnected from those parts of the city. I'm not exactly sure how CS2 works with this, if it actually extends these like park bonuses even through just pedestrian paths, or if it extends them through the roads only. So I don't know about that. Yeah. At this point, I did the thing. I did the cheesing. I had to advance another milestone because I just needed to have a parking lot unlocked because I needed to just place it there at the start of the island for like decorative purposes. But I just did not have the research points, and at this point in the game, I basically built every single service building already. So I'm just stuck waiting for the experience points to come only from increasing population and happiness. And that's just taking forever. It's just taking like so many hours, like real-time hours. You had to just wait for that. And I really needed that parking lot. So yeah, I did that little thing. I'm gonna try not to do it anymore, but no promises in that regard, okay? I also unlocked the dam, the hydropower. I'm gonna do that also at some point, and some other things related to that. But I still need that one milestone because I need the police headquarters. I found that even if you are building those just like small police stations, it's the citizens are still complaining about crime. And right now, you can even see that little, oh yeah, you don't see it anymore, but the major thing that's bringing down happiness in the city is actually high crime, the very high crime. For some reason, even though I have all those police stations around the city, but apparently this is the game just pushing you to develop those advanced buildings. It's the same with hospital. When I just started the game, people were complaining about healthcare, even though the small clinics were everywhere. But as soon as I unlocked the big hospital, the statistics didn't really change, but the happiness from lack of healthcare suddenly completely vanished, or the penalty for happiness from lack of healthcare vanished. So yeah, you definitely need those advanced buildings, it seems. So I'm definitely waiting for that police headquarters to put it somewhere in the center, and depending on how large it is, it might even serve as some kind of decorative element in the city center. Yeah, something similar I plan to do with the university. Well, anyway, these are the finished cinematics, and I'm just going to do like this pass over the downtown. Yeah, it looks okay. I'm definitely doing the lighting tricks in here, so I'm just doing this shot with the sunset light and improving slightly the temperature, the color of the view in the photo mode, so that it's not that yellowish, but it's more like daytime, but with like long shadows, right? Unfortunately, it's raining all the time. That's like the unfortunate thing for creators or video makers in CS2 right now. You cannot control the weather at all. You cannot turn it off globally. You cannot like trigger rain, for example. So right now I was recording this during the springtime, and it was just raining all the time. Even in the opening shot, it was raining. I kind of made it sound like it was intentional, but no, it was not. And also I had to wait a whole year for all these trees to grow. And I will probably rework them because those very green, bright trees, those are the hickory trees. I don't really like those at all in this game right now. Those darker trees are looking so much better. Those are oaks, I think. But I'm gonna get rid of those hickories. I'm gonna replace them with like pines, spruces, something like that, just to get better color. This really bright green is, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that one, especially in combination with those much darker oaks. But yeah, the lighting in this game, it works well. It works really well, especially if you have volumetrics on high, because it then creates this like a foggy effect, especially with these sunset or early morning situations. And it's looking okay. Yeah, it's looking really good. So I'm really looking forward to the possibilities in CS2. It's just a shame that the game is in a not exactly the perfect state right now, of course. And at the end of the day, even if it was, it's a vanilla. Yeah. So for these kinds of detailing projects, I'm very much looking forward to the future possibilities. But that's all right. Everyone obviously can enjoy the sandbox game however they want. Yeah, so right now you can already see those oil fields there at the top. Yeah, I don't particularly like to have them in there. It will be the extension of the downtown in that area, I can promise you that. And I'm just going to push all this specialized industry to the edges of the map where it just makes so much more sense. Anyway, guys, I think that this could be all for this, first, fourth, however you want to look at it, video. And like I said, in the next one, I'm going to focus on the industry. It might be a bit more practical, perhaps, because I would like to unlock some of the actually all of the unique industrial factories, and I will look at the production chains, some leveling of the factory buildings, the zoned factory buildings, and yeah, let's just see where it's going to take us. Let's just see where this entire series is going to take us. All right. Now, obviously, those City Skylines 1 series are not ending. I think I'm 100% sure right now that they are not ending. But, at the end of the day, there is that uncomfortable reality that they do take much longer time to make. So maybe I'm going to be, building more in City Skylines 2, or at least it might seem like I am, but that's just because this is so much faster to do, right? But I will try to finish those City Skylines 1 series if I can, if I have the time. Anyway, guys, that is going to be absolutely all for today. Thank you for watching this one. If you liked it, then please do all the things down below, clicking, writing, subscribing, sharing, and huge thanks to the channel members who are directly supporting me and this channel. Big thanks again. Take care. Goodbye.